Start today with what I played today, which, bear with me a sec, let's get off the shelf, which was this, Walking with Dinosaurs for the PlayStation 3. Now, this is the pack where you get the book. I don't know if you've ever heard of what this is. Basically, there was a series on PlayStation 3 called Wonder Book, and there was 3 different types of game you could get. You could get Walking with Dinosaurs, you could get a spin-off of the Harry Potter series, Book of Spells, or there was another one which always eludes me, so I have to look at the box. It's called Diggs Nightcrawler, something like that. But yeah, so basically the whole concept of this is you have your PlayStation 3 camera, you have a Move controller, just the one with the little bulb on top is the one you need. And then basically you set this book down in front of the camera, and then it uses a type of augmented reality. It's very similar to how a VR headset works for PlayStation VR, but instead of being that, it basically just tracks the wand and then it tracks the book, which, I mean, the fact that it tracks the book using small images, I find very, very fascinating myself. But anyway, so yeah, I picked this one up, like I usually do, in a charity shop. I think I paid £4 for it, something like that. So yeah, it was quite a bargain. This one doesn't come with the camera and the Move controller, but I do have one that does. This is the Book of Spells. Now there's 2 versions of this actually. There's a version that doesn't come with the camera and the Move controller, and then there's this one, which is the deluxe one, which does come with everything all bundled into one. This is the more sought after of all 3 of the series. So if you can get hold of one of these, I definitely suggest it. I mean, typical guide price on these now, complete like this, you're probably looking around, probably say anywhere around £45 to £60. It also depends on the condition really. But yeah, basically the idea of Book of Spells is, it is, as you can see, it's I don't know if you can see it, it's probably going to be terrible on the stream, but it is basically, the idea is it's a book from Hogwarts Library. And then you open the book and then it's got a whole new load of spells in it. So it's kind of Harry Potter related, but not. But the whole actual thing, the whole concept is from J.K. Rowling herself. So it basically makes it like a Harry Potter spin-off. I mean, it's supposed to be similar to like Fantastic Beasts being a spin-off, but this is more closer to Harry Potter. And if you can see on the back, you can see that it's a lot of like the spell making and that. I haven't actually ever tried this one yet, but I will be trying it, and that will possibly be something for my next YouTube video. So let's look at this, which is Dance UK. Now this is a wireless microphone designed for the Dance UK game. Do you ever remember that coming out? Yeah, I mean, I remember it briefly. It bombed quite bad. There was a lot of other accessories you could get. It wasn't just a wireless microphone. There was like a little 2.1 stereo set that you could plug into your PlayStation 2. There was a dance mat, and I think there was a couple of other things as well. It's never been used as far as I can tell, and I can see why. I mean, the artwork is terrible, absolutely horrendous on it. I wouldn't ever want to use this, but it does come with a black and a pink foam microphone, so it doesn't really matter what your gender is, you can choose whichever one you want. Dance mats, I mean, they were a thing at one point, weren't they? And then what happened? They disappeared. But yeah, so this is the Rave Station by Blaze. You'll probably remember Blaze a lot for doing things like these small little handheld things. They also did some of those really, really terrible Mega Drive copies before Sega actually finally got it together and decided to actually do a genuine article. But yeah, so basically, as you can see, this is really, really bad artwork. Typical of its time, to be honest. People who don't know me, I've been collecting games for quite a few years. Basically reliving my childhood is the way I see it. But it's not just stuck with gaming stuff. There's a lot more that I collect. There's a lot of old hi-fis and video cassette recorders, televisions, basically anything from the 1980s I have a really, really big passion for. Gaming is also a thing that I have a big passion for. As I said, there's a lot of computers and games and a lot of things like that that I always wanted when I was younger. Especially a lot of the earlier stuff. Now, if I'm talking about earlier stuff, you can talk about computers. I mean, I love my old vintage computers, they're great. And that's the thing that I was brought up on. but I also have a thing for really, really old games consoles, so in particular the Atari 2600. So I think what you can do is look through a couple of the games that I've got in my collection and more unusual ones. So more unusual one, for example, would be this, which is Silver Label Super Mario Brothers for the 2600. Now Silver Label Atari games are later model ones, and this originally would have come on a dark red label type, but unfortunately this one is just a silver, so it's a little bit later. But it's still quite a hard game to find. Unfortunately, it plays like a bag of ass, like most games do on the Atari 2600. They always try to hype it up with the box art and make it look really, really good. But unfortunately, the games were limited by the actual time and the hardware. And they didn't really have much to write on with it at the time. So I guess that was all they could do. So say, for example, Donkey Kong on the Atari 2600. Now you can see the artwork is complete and utterly different. It's not the same as you'd expect it to be. And when you're actually playing the game, I'm not even going to kid you that Donkey Kong basically looks like a... what's the best way of describing it? A fat gingerbread man is how he looks on the screen. And it doesn't matter what screen you're looking on it, he still looks like a fat gingerbread man. It doesn't even look like Kong. But yeah, I mean, these CBS cartridges, if you wonder why the artwork is very, very different, the main reason for this was that basically these were originally designed with the ColecoVision in mind, because the ColecoVision could run 2600 games. I think it had to have a special adapter, I believe. But yeah, so basically that's the reason why the artwork on CBS type cartridges is different. This is boxed and complete with its original instructions. Now, you probably can't really see behind me, but there is a lot of PlayStation 2 in this room. I mean, a serious amount. We're talking, I think last count I had was just under 300 titles. It basically takes up, I would say, about a quarter of this room. I mean, that's probably a slight exaggeration, but just to put perspective of this room, I can give you the rough dimensions. It looks reasonable size because I'm tucked in a corner, but it really isn't, honestly. It's a very small box room, my games room. So we're typically looking about just under 2 meters width, and lengthways we're probably looking about 2.5 meters, something like that. But anyway, we won't worry about that because we're here to talk about games and retro gaming. So, I think what we'll talk about is this Ico for the PlayStation 2. Now, Ico's a really unusual one. Graphically, it's absolutely amazing. The gameplay is absolutely spot on. If you've ever heard of Shadow of the Colossus, this is basically the game that came out before Shadow of the Colossus. So it uses a very similar engine. And to be honest, the game is so good with its graphics, it's very difficult to tell when it's actually a cutscene and when it's actually gameplay. And there isn't really many games that I can possibly think of from that generation where you can look at a cutscene and then look at the game and they look basically the same. I mean, it took me several times before where I looked and it was on a cutscene and then it went straight into gameplay, and I had absolutely no idea that it had shifted to gameplay because it was so seamless. I genuinely didn't know. But yeah, anyway, I can't really tell you much about the actual about what this is, but I know there's a lot of puzzle elements in it, a lot of running around. Basically, you play as this small child, and he basically comes across this really mystical woman, and they've got to basically get out of her kind of like dungeon is basically where she is, or like a tower base. It's like a tower, I would say, because you've got to go up a spiral staircase. I'm not going to ruin it too much. I mean, the best thing you want to do if you want to look at this game, look it up, but I definitely recommend this if you are a PlayStation 2 collector. I definitely recommend this game. It's a very good game. So this is the first one. This is Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance for the PlayStation 2, and it's done by Interplay. It's not a bad game, to be honest. I mean, if it's your kind of game, then, you know, that's cool. I mean, I'm not a particular fan of it, but I had to have it in the collection because, you know, you have to have stuff in the collection. I mean, you know what it's like, right? And then you've got Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2, which is apparently a lot better. You get 5 different characters that you didn't have in the previous game. There's obviously a lot more magic element and a lot more extra stuff put into it. And apparently this is quite a good game. It's a fairly decent conversion, but if you're going to play games like this, I would say it's much better to play it on the PC myself. I would personally play a game like that on the PC, not on a console. But if all you've got is a console, and then I guess that's easier. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. And yeah, check out my Instagram and my YouTube. And bye bye for now.